Dad raised his glass, smirking, and said, "You don't matter to this family, never have, never will." The room froze. Fork stopped mid-air. Heat rushed into my face, but I didn't argue. I set a small wooden box on the table, slid it toward the center, and said quietly, "Then maybe you should see what Mom left behind." Gasps rippled down the table. My cousin's phone lit up. My grandmother leaned forward and Dad's smile faltered. What was inside that box, and why did I wait until this moment to open it? That night would change. Who really held the power in our family? If this story pulls you in, share it, hit like and subscribe so you never miss what comes next. I'm Daniel Carter, 29 years old, and if you passed me on the street, you'd never guess how heavy my family sits on my shoulders. I live in Seattle, or at least I did until last month when my company slashed half the team in a round of layoffs. I'd been a software engineer for 6 years, the kind of guy who fixes bugs at midnight with cold pizza in his hand. Stable, quiet, reliable. Losing that job wasn't just a paycheck slipping away, it was the excuse my father had been waiting for. He's Richard Carter, 62, a man who still smells like motor oil and cheap cigars. He ran a small hardware business in Asheville for decades, and he wanted me in that store beside him. When I left for college and then landed in tech, he never forgave me. To him, my life behind a screen was wasted. To the rest of the family, I was just the one who moved too far and thought he was smarter than the rest. My mom, Elaine, used to be the bridge. She was warm, the kind of woman who remembered everyone's favorite pie. She died 3 years ago, and since then, the bridge burned. Without her, it's just me against Richard and his chosen golden child, my younger sister, Amber. Amber's 26, spoiled from the day she was born. When she got her license, Dad surprised her with a brand new car. When I graduated college with honors, I got a check that bounced. When she messed up at work, they took her out for frozen yogurt to cheer her up. When I worked double shifts and paid off student loans, they said, "That's just what we expect." The favoritism wasn't subtle. At family dinners, Dad would toast Amber for her business sense, even though her online boutique was just reselling knockoff handbags. Meanwhile, if I mentioned a promotion or a project, he'd cut in with, "Don't bore us with computer talk." It wasn't just Dad. Relatives fell in line. Aunts doted on Amber, uncles called her princess, cousins echoed the praise. And me, I became the background noise, the guy who drove across states just to sit at the kids' table of attention. Thanksgiving was always the stage for it. Every year, Dad's toast wasn't just a tradition, it was a judgment. He'd raise his glass to someone he thought carried the Carter legacy. Last year, it was Amber for landing a lease on a boutique storefront. The year before that, it was an uncle for paying off his truck. Me, never once. That's why this year mattered. It wasn't just turkey and pumpkin pie. It was the family court in session, Dad presiding. Attendance was mandatory. His words, not mine. A week before I flew in, I sat in my tiny Seattle apartment, packing the same sweater I'd worn 3 Thanksgivings straight. The box sat on my desk, a small wooden box, edges worn smooth, the name Carter, carved faintly on the lid. My mom gave it to me when I was 10. Back then, she'd slip little notes inside. "So proud of you, keep going, you're stronger than you think." I kept them all. When I lost my job, I found myself cleaning, desperate to distract from the silence. That's when the bottom panel of the box shifted just slightly. Beneath it was a folded envelope brittle with age. My hand shook as I opened it. It was a letter from Mom, signed and notarized. She wrote about fairness, about knowing how Richard favored Amber, and how she feared I'd be erased. She left instructions part of the estate, including the family home, was meant for me. A safeguard, she called it. A way to make sure I still had a place. I read that letter again and again, late into the night. My chest ached. It wasn't just about money or a house. It was proof that at least one person in that family saw me. So I booked my ticket to Asheville. November air bit my face as I stepped out of the airport suitcase, rolling behind me. The mountains glowed with red and gold leaves, but the sky was a low gray, spitting mist. Grandma Ruth met me at the curb, her cane tapping the pavement. She squeezed my hand tighter than usual and whispered, "Keep your head." My cousin Megan called that evening. 23, studying law, the only one who ever asked about my life without judgment. "They're planning something," she said. Dad wants to make this Thanksgiving special. Just be ready. Be ready. As if you can ever be ready to be told you don't belong in your own family. I looked at the box in my lap that night. Its lid slightly warped the letter folded inside. My stomach twisted, but something inside me steadied too. For once, I wouldn't just sit and swallow it. The driveway was slick with wet leaves when I pulled up to the old Carter house on Thanksgiving morning. Smoke curled from the chimney, the smell of turkey already heavy in the air. Through the window, I saw Amber laughing, wine glass in hand, Dad clapping her shoulder like she'd just won a medal. I tightened my grip on the box, because I knew what they didn't know yet, and that secret was about to crack the whole family wide open. The front door groaned the way it always had, like the house itself was tired of opening for me. The smell of turkey hit first, then nutmeg, then the sharp tang of wine. Laughter rolled from the dining room, my name nowhere, inside it. Daniel Amber sang out when she finally noticed me. She looked me up and down like I was a stranger at her party. You made it. Dad slapped his palm on the table. Look who decided to show. His voice dripped with mock welcome. Seattle didn't swallow you after all. I forced a smile, hung my coat, and carried the wooden box under my arm. Nobody asked what it was. The house hadn't changed. Same floral wallpaper curling at the edges. Same cracked tile near the kitchen sink. Same leaky faucet dripping into the metal basin, steady, relentless. That sound followed me through childhood, ticking out every second I didn't measure up. Amber wore a red dress that sparkled under the light glass of Cabernet glued to her hand. Dad poured himself a refill. The aunts hovered, commenting on her business empire, how brave she was to run her own store. She's building something that matters, Dad boomed. His eyes cut to me, not like typing away on a screen. I clenched my jaw. Every year, same script. Only this year, I wasn't just an audience member. Grandma Ruth shuffled in with her cane, kissed my cheek, and whispered, "Don't rise to his bait yet." Her eyes flicked to the box. She knew, maybe not the details, but she knew. We sat down to dinner. Turkey carved, mashed potatoes passed. Amber giggled over a story about her boutique's VIP clients. She meant sorority friends buying on credit. Dad roared with laughter. Uncles slapped the table. I reached for stuffing. Dad leaned across and asked loud enough for the table to hear. "So, Danny boy, how's unemployment treating you?" Forks scraped. Heads turned. "Temporary," I said. "Temporary?" Amber echoed with a smirk. "Like your career." Laughter rippled. My chest burned. I stabbed at the turkey, tasted nothing but ash. Flashback hit me hard, 10 years old, standing alone at a bus stop in the rain, backpack, soaked teeth, chattering. Everyone else picked up. No one came for me. When I finally trudged home an hour later, Dad barely looked up from his recliner. "Toughen up," he said. Mom wrapped me in a towel, slipped a note into my wooden box that night. "You matter, even if he forgets." The memory pressed against my ribs. Back at the table, Dad kept going. "Maybe if you'd stuck with the store, you wouldn't be begging for work now." "I never begged," I said, voice low. "What's that?" He cupped his ear, grinning. I said louder now, "I never begged." Silence for a second. Then Amber's laugh sliced through it. They piled on little jabs wrapped in jokes. An uncle asked if I could fix his Wi-Fi since you're free. An aunt whispered how lucky Amber was not to waste years on degrees. The faucet dripped, drip, drip. My pulse matched it. I thought about New Year's Eve when everyone drank champagne while I washed dishes until 2 a.m. Amber posted photos of fireworks. My hands stung from hot water. No one thanked me, not once. Mom found me that night, slipped another note in the box. One day they'll see what I see. Now she was gone, and the only way they'd see was through what she left behind. But not yet. I pushed through dinner, each bite heavy as stone. Amber unwrapped early presents. Dad bragged about her storefront lease. Cousins nodded like disciples. When I tried to speak about a new contract I'd lined up, Dad cut me off. "Nobody cares about coding, Daniel. It's not real work." Something cracked inside me, but I didn't show it. Instead, I glanced at Megan. She gave me a small nod, phone ready in her lap. Later in the kitchen, Amber cornered me, her perfume thick, her smile thin. "Don't embarrass yourself tonight," she hissed. "Dad's proud of me. Just let it be." I stared at her. "You think this is pride? He's using you. At least I'm worth using." She shot back heels, clicking as she walked away. I gripped the counter until my knuckles went white. The faucet dripped, one drop landing on a chipped plate. My patience, my silence, it had always been their weapon. But Mom's letter was mine. I pulled the box from my bag, traced the carved name with my thumb. Inside, the folded envelope waited. The attorney's seal confirmed it wasn't just Mom's handwriting, it was legally binding. The weight of it steadied me. That night, as dessert hit the table, pumpkin pie, pecan pie, Amber's favorite apple crumble. Dad cleared his throat. The annual toast, his gavel, his judgment. He stood wineglass high. This year, he boomed, "We honor Amber." She carried our family name with pride. She built something unlike. His eyes landed on me. Well, some people never figured out how. Laughter rose. Glasses clinked. My ears roared. I didn't stand. Not yet. I let them laugh. Let them finish their pie. I let the humiliation settle like dust in the room, because I knew what was coming. And when it landed, none of them would laugh again. The room went still when Dad lifted his glass higher, his voice booming over the clatter of forks. This year, he said, grinning at Amber, "We honor my daughter who actually built something. She proves what the Carter name stands for. Unlike her brother, who's still figuring out what real work is." The words cracked through me like ice. Amber beamed, soaking in the spotlight, while the aunts and uncles clapped. I felt my face burn, but my hands stayed steady. I reached down, slid the wooden box from under my chair, and set it on the table with a solid thud. "What's that?" Dad sneered. I flipped the latch and pulled out the folded envelope edges yellowed seal intact. My voice was low but cut through the chatter. "It's what Mom left behind." Amber rolled her eyes. "Seriously?" A box of notes. Grandma leaned forward, eyes sharp. "Let him speak." I unfolded the letter and read aloud, my throat tight, but steady. "If you are reading this, Daniel, then I am gone. I worried your father's favoritism would leave you erased, so I've arranged protection. The family home and assets tied to it belong to you. I trust you will know how to honor it." Gasps rippled around the table. A fork clattered to the floor. Dad's face reddened. "That's a forgery." I set down the letter, then slid out the attorney's certification I'd had notarized last week. Already verified. Already filed. Amber shot up from her chair. "You can't just steal the house. I didn't steal it," I said. "Mom gave it to me." The room buzzed, cousins whispering, an aunt fanning her face. Megan tapped record on her phone screen, glowing. Dad slammed his palm on the table. "This is my house, no?" I said calmly. It was hers. And she decided who mattered. His jaw clenched so hard a vein bulged in his temple. "You ungrateful grandma's cane struck the floor." "Enough." Her voice, thin but firm, cut through him. I opened the box again and slid out a second envelope, one I'd found tucked with the first. Mom wasn't the only one. Dad's eyes flicked to it, confusion cracking his fury. "This," I said, "is Grandma's letter, signed at church, witnessed, and filed. It states that if you contest Mom's will, her small trust fund shifts to me for legal fees, for repairs, for whatever it takes." Gasps again. Amber sank back into her chair. Dad stuttered. You planned this." "I didn't," I said. "Mom and Grandma did." The silence that followed was heavier than his toast had ever been. You could hear the drip from the kitchen faucet. You could hear my heart slowing, steadying. Amber broke first. Dad say something. He grabbed his wine glass, swallowed half, and tried to laugh. "You think this changes anything? You think you can just walk in here and take what I built?" "You didn't build it," I said. "Mom did. With me." Every note she slipped in this box was proof. She knew one day you'd try to erase me. She made sure you couldn't. His hand trembled. The wine glass clinked against the plate. For the first time in years, his voice cracked. "You're nothing without us." I leaned back, calm. Funny. Mom seemed to think I was everything without you." The aunts stared at their plates. The cousins avoided eye contact. Even Amber had gone pale lipstick, smudged at the corner of her mouth. Grandma reached out and touched my hand. Her fingers were cold but strong. "Elaine was right," she whispered. "Dad tried one last swing. No lawyer will let this stand. I'll fight you every step." I slid the attorney's card across the table. "Already filed, and you know the clause contest it and you forfeit your share." His laugh collapsed into silence. He knew. Everyone knew. The wooden box sat between us, no longer just a relic, but the gavel that ended his reign. I looked around the table. Faces, pale mouths, shut. For the first time in my life, the silence was mine. And in that silence, I realized they weren't just losing the house. They were losing control. The next morning, Asheville was washed in gray mist. I woke in the guest room, the house too quiet, as if even the walls were ashamed of what they'd heard. The wooden box sat on the dresser, Mom's letter folded neatly inside, and for once I didn't feel like hiding it. By 9 a.m., I was in Linda Morales' law office downtown. She was the attorney who'd reviewed the letter weeks earlier. She wore a navy blazer, eyes sharp behind thin glasses. "You ready for this to get ugly?" she asked. "It already is," I said. She filed the probate papers, stamped and sealed copies tucked into a folder with my name on it. "Once notice goes out, they can huff and puff all they want, but that clause will hold." I exhaled. It felt like a lock clicking into place. Back at the house, Dad's truck was gone. Amber's car sat in the driveway, engine cold. Inside, the silence was thick broken only when Amber stormed down the stairs. "You ruined everything," she spat. "He's humiliated." "He humiliated me for years," I said. She jabbed a finger at my chest. "Nobody cares about your pity party. You think a piece of paper makes you better?" "No," I said, "but it makes me free." Her lip curled, but she had no answer. That night, the phone lit up with calls from Dad. First angry voicemails. "You're destroying this family," then pleading, "Let's talk like men," then threats, "You'll regret crossing me." I saved everyone. Megan texted, "Record everything. Don't engage without proof." So I didn't. I let the messages pile up. Within days, the ripple hit. At church, people whispered. Grandma Kane Steady spoke louder than she had in years. Elaine wanted Daniel safe. "He is safe now." It spread fast. Dad tried spinning his version, claimed I forged the papers, claimed Mom was confused before she died. But the notarization, the lawyer's file, the witnesses, it all crushed his story. Even his friends stopped nodding when he spoke. Amber doubled down online. Cryptic posts about betrayal, about snakes in the family. She tagged me once. I didn't bite. Others asked for proof. She deleted the post. One evening, Dad cornered me in the driveway. His face, blotchy eyes, bloodshot. "You think you've won," he growled. "I don't want to win," I said. "I just want peace. This house is mine." "No," I said, calm as stone. "It was Mom's, and she gave it to me. You can stay until the court finalizes things. After that, you'll need to go." His jaw worked, but no words came. He turned, slammed the truck door, and peeled out. I didn't chase him. Not anymore. Weeks passed. I stopped sending the money transfers he always demanded. Calls dwindled from rage to silence. Amber moved back to her apartment, posting selfies with captions like, "New chapter." The aunt stopped inviting me to gatherings, but I didn't miss them. I focused on the house, fixed the leaky faucet myself, water no longer mocking me with every drop. Painted the cracked walls, replaced the dim bulbs with warm light. Slowly, it felt less like their fortress and more like my home. Work came, too. A contract with a startup in Seattle, remote this time. Enough to pay bills, enough to prove I wasn't sinking. Therapy helped. Long runs through the Blue Ridge Parkway helped more. Cold air in my lungs leaves crunching underfoot silence that didn't suffocate. Still, Dad tried one last move. A letter from his lawyer arrived threatening to contest. I brought it straight to Linda. She smirked. Clause kicks in. He contests, he loses everything. We filed the response. Weeks later, his lawyer withdrew. That night, I stood on the porch letter in hand, air sharp with wood smoke from neighbors' chimneys. The house behind me wasn't a cage anymore. It was mine. But freedom comes with echoes. Every room still carried his voice, his laughter when he cut me down. Every corner still remembered me as the background child. I could live with that. Because now, when the silence stretched, it belonged to me. On their final day here, Dad and Amber packed the last of their boxes. He left Mom's china on the counter, deliberate like a dare. I stared at the delicate cups, white with blue trim, the set Mom loved most. I didn't smash them. I didn't throw them out. I wrapped each one in paper, placed them inside the wooden box, and shut the lid. Because this wasn't about destroying him anymore. It was about keeping what was worth saving. Still, as their car pulled out of the driveway, Dad's eyes met mine through the glass. His face was red lips, tight fury, coiled but silent. And in that silence, I knew he hadn't let go. Thanksgiving came again 1 year later, but it didn't look anything like the ones before. The house was smaller in spirit, quieter in noise, but bigger in peace. I roasted a small turkey in Mom's old pan, the one that had been buried in the back of the cupboard. Megan brought cranberry sauce she made from scratch, a little too tart but perfect anyway. Grandma sat at the head of the table, Kane propped beside her, her eyes brighter than I'd seen in years. The dining room glowed with warm light. No booming speeches, no cruel laughter, no glasses raised to belittle someone. Just clinking silverware, gentle conversation, and the kind of silence that feels safe. I set the wooden box in the center of the table. Not as a weapon, not as proof, but as a reminder. Inside it, now were new things, photos of hikes with Megan postcards from Seattle friends, a letter I'd written to Mom telling her I was okay. For the first time, the box wasn't just about survival, it was about life. Sometimes I still hear Dad's voice in my head, sharp and dismissive. Sometimes I still see Amber's smirk when she thought she'd won. But those echoes don't rule me anymore. They fade under the sound of leaves rattling outside, or the soft hum of the oven, or Grandma's laugh when Megan tells a clumsy joke. I learned something in that fight. Family doesn't always mean safety. Blood doesn't guarantee loyalty. Sometimes you have to walk away or stand up and let go to save yourself. Mom tried to protect me the only way she knew how, with a letter, with love hidden in wood and ink, and in the end, that was enough. Enough to remind me I wasn't invisible. Enough to give me the strength to claim a place at the table even if it meant clearing out the rest of them. I'm not angry anymore. I'm not begging either. I'm building, piece by piece. A home that feels mine. A future that's not chained to their shadows. When I look around this house now, I don't see their judgment. I see new beginnings. A table set for the ones who stayed. Next Thanksgiving, the toast will be mine. And it won't be about blood. It'll be about choice, about finding the family who proves you matter, not with words, but with love that shows up and stays. Have you ever had to walk away from family to protect yourself? Tell me your story below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you won't miss what comes next.